Hey, so due to my upload schedule, I actually managed to only cover this story about a week ago. So I really only found this here and I already edited the video together and I really wanted to just get it out there. So don't worry, I will cover more pony salt later. But the points in this still kind of stand because I'm putting it in the context of when this video was recorded rather than talking about when it was happening. So yeah, just know that this video was recorded a week ago. Okay, bye. Hello everyone, it is me again, Penguin21, and today, well, I'm not really here to beat around the bush, I guess. With the release of Spider-Man 2 coming out this month, I decided to take a look through some Spider-Man 2 salt. Not on Twitter, because quite honestly, there is enough of that going around right now, and quite honestly, I think I've talked to death about that whole situation. But I decided to find well, since I've been watching smaller channels lately, I found a much smaller channel who is, well, around my size, but I wanted to cover him anyway because, quite honestly, the points that he makes is really, really weird and stupid. Now, you gotta love how commentary channels, or at least attempted commentary channels, try to, do what we do for other purposes, and yet fail at every level. Mainly because one of the big things that I always say, and I always give this tip to anyone for free for any commentary type stuff, is make sure that your mic quality is the best that you can possibly make it. If you use, like, some sort of recording software or something like that, make sure that you process the audio in such a way that it still sounds as good as it can and try to mute all other background sounds and stuff. Don't, up your audio and stuff. And getting a good pair of headphones so you can balance that audio in the editing process is also important. I've gone off topic. But, with that being said, today we're going to look at why Spider-Man 2 haters in a nutshell and asking the question as to why all the hate with Spider-Man 2.
It is not next generation at all. It's unoriginal, it's not creative, it looks terrible.
It's more of the same.
Get Spider-Man 2's out your mouth. It's the same game with a couple more animations, with a new storyline, and apparently now you can switch to another Spider-Man with new animations. It's the same game, bro. Relax, but
When 2K rots your brain. Spider-Man 2 for
You gotta love that intro because what I find hilarious about that is that one person I've never heard of, the other person I don't even know what the fuck podcast he's on, and then there's the amazing Lucas that he uses as a, quote, Spider-Man hater. Motherfucker doesn't know that that was friendly fire.
some reason is getting a lot of hate, and it's mostly coming from either gamers that expect way too much from video games now, or those brain-dead Xbox fanboys that hate on anything PlayStation related just to cope with the purchase of their $500 Whirlpool refrigerator. Now, almost all of these haters bring up the same points, which just shows how dumb these haters really are, because they can't come up with any other reasons besides, oh, it's the same as the last one, but with better graphics. Well, newsflash, that couldn't be any further from reality, so let's look at It's Jesse Games. He's an Xbox YouTuber that has made a lot of negative videos about PlayStation, more specifically Spider-Man 2. So let's take a look at Xbox fanboy reacts to Spider-Man 2, expanded Marvel's New York. Trash!
Okay, so we'll dig into the other dude in a little bit because I don't care who the fuck gets the spankings in this video. I'm gonna spank both of y'all because both of y'all are, well, you know what I mean. In any case, one of, if not the biggest, disingenuous reasons is the reason why we're bringing up these same points of how it looks the same is because no one's played it yet. At least at the time of recording this video, no one's actually played the actual video yet. So, obviously, right? Obviously, we're saying the same thing, at least until we get the hands on the actual consoles. Not only that, but again, most of these people do have legitimate critiques about this because, yeah, it does look like the same game. It does look like it will play the exact same from what we have seen. That is an observation you can take from the gameplay that you are that is being shown out there. It's not impressive. And again, I agree with the amazing Lucas and a lot of the people that are making the same that it's the same game but just not as good or doesn't have as much of the same stuff. Whatever. I know that I'm not the target demographic for this. I was never going to buy a PS4 or PS5, any PlayStation or console ever again because I like my PC and my PC does way more better things than any console ever could. But yeah, so we'll dig into both of these guys.
It's unoriginal, it's not creative, it looks terrible. Like, I don't understand all of the hype for this game. I really don't. We've already seen it before. It's copy and paste garbage. Who cares? Ooh, a bigger map. Whoa, 2 times the size. Guess what? The game takes the same time to complete as the first one.
Okay, and what's the point you're making here, buddy?
So there's clearly not any new content.
That is his point. I mean, his point that they're doubling the map size by adding 2 more boroughs and copy and pasting the rest of the thing, that's his whole point. And it also, again, takes a same amount of time. Wouldn't you expect a sequel to be bigger and a little bit better? I mean, better in terms of content, maybe not in terms of content length, but also in terms of content quality. Because, yeah, certainly, there is an expectation here that maybe it's a little bit overblown. But, at the same time, guess who else overblows the opposite side's exclusives a lot? G. It's almost like you can dish it out, but you can't really take it. But more so to the point, one of, if not the biggest things here is that I will defend the fact that they are reusing a lot of assets. Now, I will say this, reusing a lot of assets, if in the terms of development time, helps a lot. And again, I can see why Insomniac did this. They already had the map of New York, so just add a couple more stuff on it. And also, it's fucking New York, and I will just say, like, if you're going to use the same map, and it's like an actual real-life location, don't you think copying and pasting it is just going to help a lot instead of rebuilding the thing from scratch for forever reasons? Like, it's just dumb to think that. So yeah, it's double the size, but it's like the same map. Saints Row 4 would like to talk to you with a bat behind the Arby's so it can knock you the fuck out. But yeah. I mean, his point is that he doesn't think that it's good enough to warrant a sequel. That seems to be his main point.
Wow. So by that logic, The Croods and The Croods A New Age are the exact same movies, just with different titles because there's only a 3-minute difference between them. Like, you do realize how dumb that sounds, right?
You just compared a video game to movies. You realize how dumb that sounds, right?
And how does this game look terrible? Just look at this, man. Just look at this. It's beautiful, man. I might cry in here, bro. Oh my goodness. Hold on.
I always like that disingenuous argument. Because you can literally make any game look really good in screenshots. Like, literally, you could have the worst looking stylized game that you could ever have with, like, the world's most god-awful graphics that are literally just asset flips. But when you screenshot them at just the right angle with the amazing lighting and a little bit of Photoshop touch-ups, they look beautiful. It's like they don't... oh my god. Roll it.
Like, how does that make any sense? A bigger map, but it takes the same amount of time to finish as the first one. That makes no sense. Insomniac and PlayStation are lazy. Make a game that takes longer than a week to finish.
Funny that you mentioned that, because I just rebeat the main story to Spider-Man like a week ago, and it actually took me about like 2 weeks to finish. And when I 100%ed the game like last month, that took me around 3 weeks to do it. So...
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next product.
So because you take your time with your video games means that everyone's going to take the same amount of time? No, I would think that it took you 3 weeks because you weren't no-lifing it like some other people were, like you had other things to do outside of the video games. I would expect a 3-week turnover time. But that's not to say that you spent the same amount of time. I would like to see your play time, that is. Like, your actual time in hours of the amount of time that you've played within this game. Because I would assume that you have other things that you do outside of console warring and playing video games, things like school and things like homework, because you sound like you are that young. To be fair, again, I do agree that like it takes the same amount of time as like that sort of stuff, because we didn't know the specific amount of hours. But overall, I don't even know if Spider-Man 1 took like 30-ish hours to complete. But 30-ish hours is still a lot of hours to put into a game. But that's to platinum it. And again, do you really want to be paying a huge amount of money, like $70, for that amount of content? I don't think so. Like, again, it's dumb to me, like the amount of playtime and stuff. I do agree though that Sony, and maybe not Insomniac, but just Sony in general, should make a game that doesn't just like be a single player third person action game for like a time. So I'm just saying.
Mechanic that when combined with web swinging.
It is Spider-Man. He's not a flying squirrel. Since when could Spider-Man glide? He has freaking webs. He swings from buildings. That's the whole point of the freaking superhero. Why does he have a freaking wingsuit?
Alright, this guy should not be talking trash about a Spider-Man game when he knows nothing about Spider-Man. Wow, it's almost like he's always had the web wings, even in his first comic. This guy's incredible.
Honestly, I agree with that point. Spider-Man did have web wings, and he did have like a web suit that was like a wingsuit ever since a while ago. Like that's been in his lore for a long time. I'm not sure how specifically long, but longer than the actual video games. Both of these dudes definitely are not on the specific bus that I think that certain people should be on because of their needs, but whatever. Anyway.
This is ridiculous. Like this makes me furious. I am fuming. Look at the freaking screen you are looking at. What is this? This is not next generation. Stop hyping this game up. You're talking about, oh, it's 60 FPS, but Starfield isn't. Guess what? Starfield is actually next generation. It has next gen graphics. This is terrible. It looks like a mobile game.
The most broken, sociopathic players I had ever laid eyes on. Less people than a loose collection of character defects.
Before we let the other dude tear into him a little bit, I'm gonna tear into this because, quite honestly, you can literally take any of the motion stuff, and it's almost like there's some tweening and also some very big compression on YouTube, as well as the fact that, again, this is the game in motion, so there is such things as motion blur in games that's been around for a long-ass time. So that's, again, a disingenuous argument. But let's listen to the other person's retort to this, because it's quite interesting.
Starfield has next-gen graphics? Okay.
I'm not convinced you won't try to set me on fire with your mind. You're trying to do it right now, aren't you?
So according to some stuff I read on the internet, Starfield doesn't even have ray tracing and it can't even run 60 FPS. Meanwhile, Spider-Man 2 has both. At the same time. Oh yeah, next gen. Yeah, Starfield is definitely next gen, guys. Yeah.
I don't know if Sony is actually going to pull off like the 4K, 8K ray tracing, whatever the fuck, 60 FPS. If they do, congrats on them, fantastic. But the problem being here is that the ray tracing itself, you can't actually turn that off. So if it starts to like overheat your computer and or not your computer, the PlayStation, Jesus Christ. If it starts to overheat the PlayStation or like actually affecting the frame rate in some way, shape, or form, you can't actually turn it off for whatever reason. Not that I don't think that they will basically test the game for that, but I don't believe anything that Sony says because I don't trust them to actually make like competent or like to not overhype their game because they are, again, Sony. But that's just me personally. If you like Sony, if you trust Sony, if you are not one of these kinds of blind faith, PlayStation is God and will always be God type people, and you have a more nuanced thing where you can actually be critical of when Sony does do wrong stuff, then yeah, absolutely, I trust your opinion a bit more. But I respectfully disagree that this game is going to run as perfectly as Sony says. Because again, I don't trust Sony, and I would like to see that on actual unbiased sources, not coming from, the people who are trying to take your money.
Yeah.
Is this what you guys are excited for? New skins. This is not Fortnite. It is a AAA, huge first-party Sony game. This is not Fortnite. You guys are paying $70 for more skins. You cannot make this up.
You want to take this outside, kid? I'll throw down with an 8-year-old. I don't give a fuck.
You cannot make this up. Paying $70 for new skins. This is literally a freaking DLC. Why is this a new game? This is terrible.
So yeah, this guy pretty much just says a whole lot of nothing for the rest of the video. So we're just going to stop watching this and get to why the hate.
Okay, before we get into his sort of conclusion and stuff, I'm going to be running my mouth a little bit more. Mainly because, well, listen, if he goes on like that, it seems like you took a bunch of the clips that made you seem a bit more agreeable and to actually prove a different point, whereas I've used your whole video in this. Now, that's not the worst thing in the world. If the video was like 30 to 40 minutes long, I get that, and you don't want to make a fucking huge-ass long video for that reason, absolutely. But more to the point, both of y'all are stupid. I mean, number one, the dude who's like, oh, you're paying $70 for more skins and stuff. It's like, okay, cool. They want to put in more cosmetics and things like that. Oh, no. Even though I'm fairly certain you can earn, like, most of those suits in-game, which is fine, so long as, like, they're not microtransactions. If they were, I would have a fucking field day, but it doesn't seem that way. But they might sell those types of skins in the cash shop, which you bet your bottom dollar they're probably going to have. But I think the biggest thing here is with the other one, he's like, oh, well, he just goes on to that. And like, okay, I don't know anything more. I'm just going to go off of what he says. I don't care about the other dude. I don't want to look up his content because, quite frankly, both of y'all are fucking stupid. And both of y'all deserve to get smacked across the face to really get to put some of those synapses and some of those, like, freaking brain cells back into place, in my personal opinion. But let's get into why the hate.
The problem with most of these Spider-Man 2 haters is that they all seem to forget what a sequel is. A sequel takes what was good about its original predecessor and tries to expand on those key features while excluding those features that were disliked by fans.
I'm getting real tired of your first-year psych student bullshit.
Nowadays, all these gamers expect every game to be this revolutionary masterpiece that will change gaming forever. And it's sad because a lot of video game sequels now are held at such high standards, and in some cases, this leads to games being rushed and being released extremely buggy.
Okay, look. First of all, I don't disagree with the fact that there has been a higher standards for games, absolutely. There should be at least a minimum standards, and those standards should not be too high. However, in my opinion, if the game looks the same and if a game looks like a duck and it walks like a goose, it's a witch. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. It's dumb. Not only that, the 3 games that you just listed can be broken down like this. With Steel Wool, I'm fairly certain that they had too much ambition and they couldn't get it around in time, so they've actually improved it somewhat, but I don't think that they were doing it in the way that people wanted it to, or something along those lines. There was definitely some sort of way that did not function brain synapse-wise. Secondly, for Cyberpunk 2077, that was rushed because of the executives at the top who wanted to get this game out quickly and didn't care about the quality. Also, during its development, there was a little something called the pandemic, which I also chalk up to it being a buggy, broken mess, at least on consoles. And the fact that they were, again, working from home and yada, 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 there was a lot of crap and nonsense that happened in the time when it was being developed. So, yeah. And the same thing happened with No Man's Sky. The developers literally went through a fucking flood during the time of their development, as well as several other aspects in that, mainly from Sony, pushing them to put the game out and locking them into a specific actual release date that they did not have the audacity to do, or they did not have it's not that they had the audacity to. They fucked it up in a lot of ways, but not because of what they did. It's because they were strapped for time and they tried to make it the best game that they could. And I will say, at least for Cyberpunk and for No Man's Sky, they get the most improved award because rather than taking the money and running like some of the other people that released these broken, buggy, stupid fucking games, they at least made an improvement and decided to go in for the long haul rather than just take the money and fucking run. So I will at least say most improved award right there. But I went on this rant too long, but let's finish out this video.
So to those who say that this game is the same as the original, just with better graphics, cry about it. I mean, every time a studio comes out with a good game, the haters are always going to come up with something stupid to cry about. And usually those things don't even matter that much.
Excuse me? Mr. Kettle, Mr. Pot called. He says you're black!
What? It's a turn of phrase. It has nothing to do with race.
Like, people talking about, like, how the water is reacting to Miles and the... I'm just like, who cares? I'm like, does that...
People actually complained about the water physics in an unfinished Spider-Man game. Oh my god. Spider-Man 2 is a sequel that gives us a ton of new features to explore and play with. From the new suits to new gadgets to the almost entirely new combat system and massively improved traversal system. With a new story, with a new set of characters and villains, and a bigger and better map.
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next product.
And with that being said, here's a little announcement. I am making a Spider-Man 2 review when it drops. But, you know, obviously I have to finish the story and all that other stuff because, you know, I don't immediately call a game trash just based off of the trailer because, you know, that's not how reviewing a game works. But other than that, see y'all on October 20th.
And like that, the video is over. Personally, I feel like I've lost several different amounts of brain cells and I'm coming at you with a spoon, sir. So give 'em back already! But whatever. If I had to deal with this nonsense, I'm fairly certain my subscribers will have a nice time pointing and laughing at this. At least I hope so. Whatever. Look, if you like Spider-Man 2 and are excited for Spider-Man 2, great, fantastic, lovely. But if you don't at least say that the Emperor does not have any clothes on, then you are basically just not addressing the actual problem. I hope that that makes sense to the people who at least are, you know, above a 3rd to 4th grade level. And for those of you that are not and are just still now arriving to this, listen, I'm not hating on Spider-Man 2. I think that the game looks fine and will run okay. I don't think that the game looks like it's absolute garbage, but I think that there are some things that you can point out and critique with the information that we currently have. If you think that the game looks the same, functions the same, has a lot of the same features as the first game, then yeah, those are pretty standard critiques. But at the same time, I can understand where people are coming from when they say that it's a sequel and you shouldn't expect that much of a sequel. For me, here's my thought process, and here's how I think a lot of people should go about thinking about these types of games. Number one is history. You should go back and look at least the studio's history for the amount of quality to be expected and where that quality is, and that should be your baseline. If it's a newer studio and a newer game with a newer IP, you should at least lower those standards by a factor of at least 2 to be able to, you know, have those expectations met. Not only that, if the studio is a long-running studio, that expectation should be a little bit higher, but not by too much. You need to regulate your fucking expectations is the point that I'm trying to get across here. Not regulating your expectations is how you end up becoming a fanboy of something and overall having a bad time. Period. That's my TED Talk for the day. I think I'm going to end it right there. If you like what it is that I do and want to support in any way, shape, or form, links to everything down in the description below, including Patreon, and the Gumroad and stuff like that. My new single, Hollowed House, is out on both my channel and the Bandcamp if you want to go and check it out. I do make music and stuff, even though I mainly talk about video games and nonsense. In any case, my name is GamePenguin21. Jesus Christ, this video was awful, and there just definitely needs to be more quality control in this moving forward. And a peace off.